What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Sunday morning tea, and coincidentally, Sunday morning tea is the name of the tea. So Sunday morning luxury loose leaf tea blend. Revitalize your body, pure and easy tea. First time I'm trying this, although many years ago I had something similar, so we'll see. I have it in here. Feel the heat. I have bricks here, so we don't cause any kind of issue with the fire. When we open it up, wow, all flowery and tea. Delicious. That's very tropical. So we're going to add some into the infuser. I like my tea a little bit on the strong side. Some people, they put the bag in, they take it out 8 seconds and they're good with that. I'm not good with that. I need my tea to soak at least 5 minutes, which is not crazy, right? My cup. Beautiful day today. Beautiful day. Temperature's just right. It feels like early fall. That's what it feels like. So in a few minutes, a couple of minutes, she'll heat up to a boiling point, right? It's probably good enough now, but I will leave it in a little bit longer. I got up a little while ago. A lot of dreams last night, one after the other. Sometimes, you know, they're okay, but sometimes I feel like they disrupt my sleep. You know, I feel like I'm occupied, running around, and, you know, I'm in one room, I'm in another room, and your mind is kind of constantly thinking about the plot. Where other times you fall asleep and you wake up and you're like, it's morning. I don't like those either. It feels like the night flew by. A lot of times I'll get up, you know, use the bathroom or something, right? Get up, gotta use the bathroom. And I look at the clock, and if the clock says 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'm okay with it. But if it says like, because I get up every morning at 6, so if it says like 5:54, I'm very annoyed, because that means I have to get up in 4 minutes. So, but yeah, when it's a good sleep, you wake up the next morning nice and rested. But last night I had dream after dream after dream. It was like constant. And I dream quite often, so anyway, I'm going to turn this off. Turn it off. Trim it. Obviously you can't put that on the table. It'll melt right through. And we put it here. It's got to be hot. Yes, it is. And then we'll put the whole thing in there like that. And we let it sit for 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to shut off the camera there for a moment, clear this out of the way, and we begin. Be back in a flash. All right, I am back. Beautiful day today, beautiful Sunday. I know I'm repeating myself, but very nice. Get that feeling of well-being, you know, just really enjoyable. Anyway, so I made my tea here. I've let it sit. Time has lapsed, and I'm going to pour some in my my cup. Get that. Great color. Great fragrance too. The aroma is amazing. Alright, I had a slight interruption there. I had to edit that out. So I'm back again. I got the tea going here. Only like 10 seconds, but I had to stop and do something for a second. Anyway, these kind of Sundays, they remind me of that Chris Christopherson song. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Beautiful tune. When I was a kid, the 70s, growing up, you know, Sundays were very quiet. They had the laws back then that all stores were closed, except like little stores, pharmacies, that kind of stuff. But the major things like malls and banks, and those were all closed. So you had no place to go. So you kind of hung around at the house, or you went out somewhere on a drive. But there was no, you know, and back then going to the mall was popular. Now nobody says let's go hang out at the mall. You know, we have Amazon. Why would you go to the mall? Let's see how this goes. Smells great. Tastes great, but it's very hot. Why is it hot? Because I made it with fire. Very good. I'm a big tea drinker. I love tea. I've had, you name it, varieties. I've had them. There was a time when the only kind of tea I would drink for a while, maybe a couple of years, was Stash. Anything Stash Company made, I bought it. And the loose leaf variety. And I, you know, daily tea drinker. And, you know, just to say that Lipton, it's a basic tea. You find it everywhere, but it's delicious. They have it down perfect. You know, then Red Rose is another good tea. But, you know, if I don't have the exotic variety, I will drink Lipton. And Lipton is awesome. What was that guy? Was it Don Meredith? Yeah, I think Don. I don't want to say Burgess because he never did those commercials, but Don Meredith did tea commercials when I was a kid. And maybe because of that, maybe because of his commercials, I'm such a Lipton guy. But, you know, this Sunday morning tea is amazing as well. But hot. So, a lot of people know that watch this channel, I am a huge Muddy Waters fan. Muddy Waters, blues music in general, I'm a huge fan. And kind of by accident, you know, one day I was in a record store, which I do all the time. I go and I browse, check out the new stuff, the old stuff, you name it. I'm going to Amoeba all the time. So anyway, this particular time, and this was decades ago, I'm in there and there was a brand new box set released. And it was playing on the loudspeakers, and immediately it spoke to me. It was like, come listen. So I was like, wow, that's good stuff. I really like that stuff. So I asked the guy, who is that? And he said, that's Muddy Waters. That's the box set. They just released it. I said, wow, that's, you know, nice guitar playing and just the whole style of it. You know, I was enjoying it. So I went and bought it. Chess released it. Went and bought it. Started playing it. I could not stop playing it. Matter of fact, I worked at this place where I made all my CDs into cassettes, and I bought my little cassette player, and all day at work, Muddy Waters, all day. People would come in and it would say, someone would say, who's that? And I'd say, that's Muddy Waters. And others would come in and they would say, oh, hey, Muddy Waters, that's cool. And I'd say, yes. He's an awesome guitar player. Vocally, I enjoy the style. And I remember one song particularly that spoke to me. Big bus going by there. But one song that spoke to me, you hear that sound of a car? That's a mama's boy going home to his mom, get a kiss on the cheek. Anyway, so the song was "You Shook Me," and it's a particular version of it, the one that's on the box set. There's many versions to that, but that specific one, that's the one that I love the best. You know, just everything about it. The opening guitar riff, the Muddy Waters thing that he does. Really, really, really good tune. So, at that point, I became a very big fan of the House of Blues. House of Blues would see me there quite often. I would go in there and listen to the blues bands. And one night I was there, and there was a blues band. These guys were late 70s, you know, early 80s, around there, from Harlem. And they played the blues so well that I wish that night went on and on and on. I was right in the front. I was next to the piano player. And he looked like he was like about 83. He had a shot of whiskey on the rocks. And every so often, he'd get the left hand to play the bass part, and he'd be sipping and playing. And the guitarist, he was probably the youngest. He was probably like 75, 76. And he was playing that guitar unbelievably well. And I sat and I watched him, and I have one regret. I can't remember the name. I mean, obviously, this is decades ago, so I don't think they're still alive. I mean, that would be like in their hundreds. But I know that they were from Harlem, because there was a sign there. It had their name, and it said "From Harlem." So that was kind of like a hint. And then about, I don't know what it was, like 10 years ago, I called the House of Blues up, and I said to them, you know, there was a band there that played back in the early 90s, and I described everything about them. I gave them, you know, the background and all that. I go, is there any way you could look them up on your, you know, computer system there? And the guy said to me, yeah, I don't think we go back that far. So, but they were amazing. So I used to go there quite often, and a lot of blues bands, a lot of rock bands. But there was another guy and his band that I would go and see quite frequently, and it was his name there, Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters. Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters. Now, they weren't a singing group, but it was blues guitar. Blues guitar, great bass player. And me and a friend of mine were huge fans of this Ronnie Earl guy. We'd go, you know, follow him around different places, you know, and one time it was a nice hotel. Got tickets to this concert he was throwing, and it was very personal. You know, it was like maybe 30 of us there, and it was kind of like a lounge. It had these sofas, couches there, little tables there. They'd bring you snacks out, and there was Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters playing. Amazing, amazing guitar. I am a big fan of the guitar, especially the electric guitar, but even the acoustic one, you know, I mean, a Martin guitar acoustic, Paul Simon. So, but I always fantasized about being in a blues band, you know, like in the 1940s, not now. 1940s, me in the back there, maybe playing, you know, the B3 organ or something. And maybe if I'm not good at that, maybe they'd give me a tambourine, and it would be a dark club, 1942, right? Nice blues music. Obviously, that never happened because I was too young in the 1940s, but that was the time. That was the time. And all the legends were around back then. When you go to the House of Blues and you look up at the ceiling, every legend is up there. You know, the not holograms, but they're kind of like carved out into the ceiling all over the place. Dan Aykroyd came up with that probably, but yeah, you know, and there was a competition between who's the better bluesman. Was it Muddy Waters or was it Howlin' Wolf? They're close. They're close. I like Howlin' Wolf too, but for me, Muddy Waters was a little bit better. A little bit. Of course, you know, Howlin' Wolf had amazing songs. You know, I have a bunch of his albums as well. You know, it's whatever mood you're in. But in general, huge fan of the blues, especially the old stuff. There's a couple of new guys now, but the old stuff, the old guys that were around, you know, the ones that were doing their tours back in the 40s and 30s, those are the guys that I like to listen to. Unfortunately, every single one of them, you know, has died. The last one, and he was kind of like the end of that generation, he was like the baby of that generation, was B.B. King, which I got to see live. And not too far from here, I got to see him live. He came in, I had good seats that night. I was by myself. And I sat there, and I was like, it was surreal. You know, I was watching B.B. King. He didn't perform. He only sang The Thrill Is Gone. But most of it was just telling stories of the past, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that a lot. He was telling stories about all these things that happened in his career, you know, touring in the South, things like that. And he came in, he had an awesome bus, beautiful bus. Came in with a like a king's coat, you know, fur and everything. And he had a big throne, and went to sit down. A couple of guys came on his left, on his right, and they took the coat away, and he sat down. He started talking, and I was blown away. It was amazing. So I got to see him, and then shortly after that, he had died, but I was glad that I got to see him before that happened. I did not get to see Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters, I think, died back in 1980, and it's one of those things that I regret. I wish that I had gone to see him. I have met somebody, though, whose parents were huge Muddy Waters fans, and they according to him, had seen him everywhere in the world, and they were huge fans of his. And he told me, oh yeah, they went to dozens and dozens of concerts, you know, huge fans. But I didn't see him live, but I was, and still am, a huge fan of Muddy Waters. Unbelievable music. The blues. A lot of people, they don't appreciate the blues, you know. They, I don't know, they don't give it a chance. You have to sit there and be relaxed, sit, you know, and listen to the blues, and you'll get into it. You'll get into it. And these guys, you know, I know, you know, a lot of people claim to be the creators of rock and roll music. No, the blues guys, those are the guys that created, those are the godfathers and the grandfathers of the blues, I mean of the rock and roll music that we hear, that came after. You know, Muddy Waters had a song, it said, the blues had a baby and they named it rock and roll. And that's exactly what happened. You know, it's the blues, it's the bluesmen that created rock and roll. You know, yes, Little Richie, a lot of credit to him, but the blues guys, that's where it stands. That's the creators. That's like the foundation of rock. And after that, we built on that. So, you know, I give credit to Muddy Waters and all the bluesmen for creating that sound, which eventually became rock and roll. And I know, you know, Little Richie is no longer around, but he also, you know, had a lot to do with it. He refined it, you know. But yeah, it wasn't one guy. It was a lot of people that you know, promoted that style. But the blues, to me, they're the foundation of rock and roll. Got a little plane going by. But if you're interested in some good blues sounding tunes there, or some blues, go pick up the Chess, the box set by Muddy Waters. Came out, I think, in like 89, 90, around there. And just great material. Or you can download it on Spotify, or you can listen to it there. But I actually had the CDs back then, and I had nice stereo system in my room. I'd put it on, and I'd listen to that stuff. But yeah, and you know what? Back then, the blues guys didn't make much money. I mean, they toured a lot, but not like now. You know, now they give a tour, and they make like $50, $60 million. You know, back then they probably made like, you know, a couple of $1,000 a night. John Lee Hooker. I'm a big fan of John Lee Hooker's. I tell you, that Mr. Lucky album, when that came out, I went and got it, and I played it all all the time. Just, you know, he's got a different style of singing. It's more like singing, talking at the same time. But great, great musician, and he's legendary, John Lee Hooker. This Is Hip, that song, that's a great tune. This Is Hip. But the whole thing, you know, it's a great album. Great album. And the car in the front that he's sitting on, you know, that he's against there with his guitar, that's a beautiful car. It was a good time to be alive back then, you know, when these guys were in their prime, 1940s, 50s, and you know, the 1950s were never completed. So the 1950s, you know, I will go to Bob's Big Boy occasionally on a Friday night, and you will see in the back there all these guys that were in their prime, you know, in the 1950s, like they were maybe high schoolers, seniors in high school back in 1957, and here they are now in their 80s, sitting there with their old muscle cars, you know, and you look at them and you go, yeah, these were the guys in the 1950s that were like in their 20s or late teens. Yeah, I always wanted to visit the 1950s. What a cool time that was. It was like the style, the music, you know, rock and roll was just coming, you know, gathering speed. You know, back then they had, prior to that, they had, you know, and I listened to that stuff too, Glenn Miller and things like that. But then all of a sudden, Music with an Edge came out. And and the bluesmen, they had a lot to do with it. I mean, they were the driving force behind that style of music. I mean, the fact that they had the electric guitar dominate on these songs shows you that, you know, because eventually that's what rock and roll became, the dominating guitar. And yeah, of course, Little Richie the piano and Jerry Lee Lewis the piano, but the electric guitar is the king when it comes to the blues and when it comes to rock and roll music. Delicious tea. So even now when I'm in the record store, I have to go through the blues section. I have to find something, and if I don't know them, if I don't, like, I look at somebody, I go, who is that? I buy it based on the beauty of the cover. You know, I look at the cover and I go, that's an interesting cover of the album. I'm gonna get that. And then I'll come back home here and I'll listen to it and I'll say, yeah, I made a good choice. They're all good choices. All good choices. But time marches on, and today we have a different style of music. Today we have AI-generated vocals. We have correction technology that if you're a little bit off when you're singing, it'll fix it for you. It makes it sound a little bit artificial. But that's progress, right? You know, it has its good sides and its bad sides. The Beatles, you know, the two remaining ones, they were able to take a very muddied sounding John Lennon cassette that years ago in 1995 when they tried to do it, they couldn't do it. The technology didn't exist. But now all of a sudden they were able to take John Lennon's vocals, clear them up, remove all the background noise, and then use his vocals to record a brand new track, brand new song. So there's some good things, you know. There are people who can't sing at all. They can get in there in the studio, record an album, they do a few adjustments, and they sound great. You know, for them it's worked out. And you know, for that kind of stuff it's done well. But then there's other things where it takes away the human aspect of music, you know, the human touch, that emotion that you feel because a human wrote it, that slowly is going to fade. Hopefully we get around that. You know, I'd like to see AI only used in a way that enhances the music experience, but I don't want to see it replacing humans. Well, all of a sudden you go to a computer, you say, write me a song about love, and the AI generates lyrics, you know, 4 verses, chorus, bridge, and gives you the song, and then you sing it. I don't want to see that. What's the point of that? You know, see a few airplanes in the sky. But anyway, if you're in the store, record store, Amazon, whatever, pick up Muddy Waters and give it a chance. Give it a chance. Because I don't care how good the song is, if you don't give it a chance, you're not going to like it. You know, give Muddy Waters a chance. Give the rest of the blues guys a chance. They are the founding fathers, the grandfathers of rock and roll music. And even the music we hear today, even if you don't call it rock and roll, even if you call it R&B, pop, all that stuff, the beginning, the foundation, the blues, you know, the fact that they were able to think outside of the box and create a sound like that, you know, that inspired everybody after that. You see all these people, they say, who inspired you? Rolling Stones. Who inspired you? Muddy Waters, the blues. You know, Led Zeppelin, same thing. You know, Muddy Waters. Matter of fact, they covered Muddy Waters songs. So, but yeah, and a cool name. I know it's not his real name, but it's a cool name. You know, Morganfield. You know, now somebody will say, well, who's a great guitarist now? I enjoy Joe Bonamassa. Great heavy-duty guitar sound, great blues sound. He's covered Muddy Waters, he's covered Howlin' Wolf. Matter of fact, he has an album with their songs, but done in his style, and he is a great guitar player. I'm driving in the car, crank up Joe Bonamassa. Amazing guitar player, amazing guitar player. So I listen to him a lot now. But I listen to everything. I listen to everything. You know, I have young kids, and they're getting older and older every second that I'm talking, so time flies by. They're not as young as they once were, but neither am I. But they listen to the new stuff, so I'm very aware of what's out there. I'm very aware of the new artists. I listen to it all the time because my kids, you know, they say put the radio on, but they also listen to the old stuff. So we go back and forth. We hear the old stuff, we hear the new stuff. I'm aware of the new stuff, they're aware of the old stuff. So we're not you know, cultural snobs. We listen to music from all backgrounds. All backgrounds. Doesn't matter who you are. If you put something out there and it's good, we listen. We listen. We enjoy music made by everybody as long as it's good, right? And good, you know, is subjective. What's good for me is not good for someone else. But I listen to everything. Delicious. Can't overemphasize how good this is. So, I'm getting a little hungry. Have not eaten yet. So we'll find something to eat. See my cat over there looking around. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll catch up later, maybe in an hour, maybe in a day. When I get the urge, I will be back here when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. Mr. Rogers, he was a good jazz player there with the piano, played his jazz piano. There was a lot of good musicians on that show. There's that guy, Jim Negri, he was a musician, and then Bob Costa, or something like that. Yeah, those guys were very talented musicians. I didn't know it back then when I was watching that show, but later on, I started, you know, investigating them a little bit and listening to their music, and they were awesome, awesome. That Bob Costa, I think that's what his name is. He was an amazing pianist. Amazing. I don't know how Fred Rogers met them, but you know, and Fred Rogers, he was a great piano player himself. I mean, I don't know if he was up there in concert playing, but he was very good. He'd get on there and start playing, the jazz. And I'm a big fan of jazz music. Now, this video is not about jazz, about the blues and Muddy Waters specifically, but I am also a big fan of the jazz genre. Big fan. I've said this a million times. Classical music and jazz, you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect. Blues, you don't have to be perfect. You could fake that a little bit, but jazz and classical, you have to be perfect. Listen to these guys play, the jazz players, the pianists, guitarists, drummers, they're all perfect. They're all amazing, they're all amazing. If you wanna hear really good drum playing, guitar playing, piano playing, jazz. It's very relaxing. That movie, Play Misty for Me. They have a little jazz festival in there that Clint Eastwood included. They didn't have to include that. It's not really relevant to the movie itself. They didn't have to have that. They could have just mentioned, hey, we went to a concert, good jazz music. But no, he put that in specifically because he wanted to show that festival there. And he directed that. That's a great movie. Watch that and hope you never experience anything like that. They're out there. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.